What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Masterclass number 15, Joshua.
Oh man, where does the time go?
It was just yesterday. This whole little Masterclass was just a glimmer in our eye.
I know, and here we are, feeling the pressure of getting them done on time for Nats.
We're close. I should say you're close.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Little bit by little bit each day. I'm doing a little bit of building here and there.
Love it. Love it. Love it. We got Wisconsin in the house, Ohio, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Georgia, another Ohioan, Virginia. Terry Dunn, the one and only, is in the house.
He didn't schedule another podcast for tonight. How nice of him.
We apologize for running a little. I apologize for running a little late this evening. Just got back from visiting our friends at Horizon Hobby, so that was a great trip. And yeah,
Can't
but
can't complain about doing the good work that you do for our hobby. So
yeah,
thank you.
no, it was great to meet some of those folks face to face, see the facility down there. Definitely cool, man. Wow, Horizon is their facility is giant, and rightfully so. Their product offering is pretty crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was good, man. All good stuff.
Nice. Nice.
So
Well, I don't know about you, but it's getting pretty sweltery here. The heat is upon us.
yeah,
Flying season is definitely here, and I've been flying. Actually, I went out to the field on Saturday and got a couple of hours of flying in, but most of that was practicing my sequence for Nats.
nice.
But yeah, it's
You
it's
getting
it's in full
excited?
swing. I'm nervous because I don't know. I've never flown flown to be like scored or judged or anything. I know I'm going to do terrible. But I mean, I'm there to have the experience. I'm not necessarily there to win.
Yeah,
I mean, if I'm not last, then I figure I'm at least a halfway decent pilot.
sure, sure. Hey, it's all a learning curve, like anything, right?
I know, I
It's all a
know.
matter of just getting out there, having fun, and taking part in the camaraderie of the hobby we all love, right?
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to doing some cooking too. I love cooking for people. So make some friends and make some food.
I like it.
Awesome.
You know me. I like food, so I'm not going to deny that.
It'll be a good time for sure. Uh,
Well, before we dive into it, guys, gals, drop it in the chat where you're tuning in from,
yep.
like everybody else. If you guys have questions as we go along, please drop them in the chat. We'll get those answered. And then also, every comment puts you in the drawing for a chance to win one of these beautiful minuets that Mr. Orchard has slaved over building for one of you lucky folks.
Yeah, slaved. It has been a labor of love. Absolutely.
Ronald had a great comment. If you're not crashing, you're not flying enough.
I've heard that before, and I tend to agree. Uh, but I do have models that I really try very, very hard not to
To
crash.
be gentle with.
Yeah.
It happens.
Ah, man.
Uh, Gary's got a question in the chat, so I guess
Yeah.
we'll get to this before we dive into the wings tonight. But he says, I want to connect the pole wires directly to the servo horns. How do I get them from outside the fuselage to inside without hitting the vertical braces between the uh,
Longerons.
longerons? Some kind of tubing? Question mark.
Yes. So I talked about this a little bit during the last master class. So I'm using the sleeve from the micro pushrod system. So that's SKU 852 on the Dubra website. So you get the push rods and it comes in this bag, but it also has the plastic sleeve, and I cut just little 1 centimeter lengths. So I roughed this up with some sandpaper first, and little 1 centimeter lengths that I just CA glued right to the vertical parts wherever it needed to be. Just let it settle there where it needed to be, and applied a couple drops of glue. Just that's all you need. Pretty
Perfect.
simple and straightforward.
Hopefully that answers your question, Gary.
Yeah. If not, I
Well, I know you.
grab a
Go ahead.
fuselage real quick. If that's as clear as mud, I can try to point that out on the fuselage a little bit better. If that's not clear, Gary, just drop a comment in the chat.
Perfect.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. What's up?
No, no, no. I was just going to say, I know you've been busy on some
Yeah.
fancy wings. He says, thanks. Makes sense. Also,
Cool.
putting in the hinges. I got some epoxy on the hinges and now they're stiff. I use WD-40, but still a bit stiff. Suggestions to fix.
Throw it away.
Throw it away. Order more.
Yeah, order more. So we'll actually talk a little bit about that on the next conversation that we have. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Brian?
Yeah, we got one of the fine folks from Zap Adhesives coming on the next one. It won't be on the 17th as planned because Joshua and I have some conflicts. So it'll either be next week or the week after. So we'll keep you guys posted. Just watch the social medias. We'll send out an email blast once we know exactly what day it'll be. But yeah, that'll be one. If you guys need some adhesives, get ready. So,
Yeah, so not only adhesives, we're going to talk of some adhesive tips and tricks too. So just to address your point moving forward about the hinges, rail zip. So this is a Zap product. Pre-treat your hinges with rail zip. Um,
I
I'll,
just
I'll-
pulled a bottle of that out of my backpack.
yeah, it's good stuff. So I'll cover that. I'll do an example of that during the next class and show you how that works. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. But in addition to that, I thought I'd also announce one of the reasons that we can't, well, at least my reason, you've got a conflict too, so I can't
Sure.
make the next master class on the 17th because I will be attending Flight Fest in Malvern, Ohio with the flight test group. I'll be doing a volunteer thing there. I'll be helping with the event and making sure that it runs smoothly. I've also been asked to do a couple of community builds. So look for signups for the Bloody Baron and the Bloody Wonder. I'll help you guys in a build tent and we can burn ourselves with hot glue. It'll be a good time.
Nice.
Can't keep a good builder out of a opportunity to build. I tell you, I love building, and it's a fun time when you get some people that are coming into the hobby and they want to learn some tips and tricks along the way.
Ryan says, Gary, you can also use a hinge slot pick to try to free the epoxy away from the hinge if the hinges are nylon barrel type.
Yeah. I mean that can work, but your mileage may vary. Depends on how much of the epoxy actually gets into the hinge. I've had some luck in the past where it's just surface level and you pick it off and it kind of comes away, but honestly, most of the time I just throw it away.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes. So there are tips and tricks along the way for those hinges, and I'll share those next week. So tune in, or the next class, not next week. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. Come on.
Yeah. Art, I don't have any pictures currently of my build. It doesn't look as good as Joshua's, I can tell you that much. And obviously, you guys can see I'm not at Do Row HQ tonight, just because I was on the road. So I'm actually in the home office tonight. So apologize if I have any audio issues.
It's all right. We appreciate you being here and helping us with the class tonight.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Well, where
should
do
we
you want
get
to start,
started?
my friend? Yes, sir.
Oh, well, I tell you, one of the things that I have been looking forward to is sharing this technique. So, years ago, they used to build wings with fabric covering, right?
Hmm.
How did the fabric stay on the wing?
Stitched it, correct?
Yeah, they stitched it. So within the frame, when you've got the actual airfoil frame, and then the sticks that held it together, much like how we build our Minuette wing, the fabric was stitched to the ribs.
Hmm.
Now there's a set scale distance between each one of those stitches, and it depends on the flying speed of the airplane. You can look that up on your own if you want to do a scale thing, but a good rule of thumb is 1.5 to 2.5 inches. So that's per per stitch in between each stitch. So I'm figuring that the minuet is roughly somewhere around 1/6 scale. So that translates to uh, if I go with 2.5 inches ish, I go down to 2.4 inches. That rounds out to a nice even 1 centimeter between each rib stitch. So you
Hmm.
can kind of play with your fudge factors because this airplane isn't meant to fly fast. So I wanted to go with a larger spacing in between anyway. So rib stitching. How do you simulate rib stitching? And there's been a number of different methods explained over the years that I've seen, and the one the one that I have found to be the easiest, honestly, is demonstrated very well by Mr. Mike Barbie. He is a tremendous modeler, a legend in our community in builds and scale flight. The guy is an absolute master. Makes me look like I build with crayons, and I I really love this technique. So all you do is you take some sort of flat device. It can be like a guitar pick or a coin, the edge of a blade. So I have this tool that comes in like it's like a pry tool that comes in a kit for like fixing your cell phone or something, right? So you use the blade or this rounded part or either this part too. It's a little more pointed, and we're just going to dip it in aliphatic glue. Okay, we're going to use Type Bond 2, and you just dip it, the tip of this, in the glue, and then you run a little line. So let me go ahead and change my camera, and we will get started. All right. Can everybody see absolutely nothing here? All right. Focus. All right. So you can see in advance, I've already applied my 1 centimeter spacing. I did this with just a simple pencil and a ruler. I have a metal ruler that is kind of flexible. You can also use like a seamstress's tape for like garment construction. You can get metric ones, or I prefer metric, but you can also get imperial as well. And then you can have it contour to your airfoil shape, and then just apply your marks right on the ribs as usual. So after you apply the spacing marks, so these are just a guide, right? These are just little pencil marks. So now we're going to take our glue.
We got a question. Pete on YouTube is asking, will Type Bond 3 work as well?
Type Bond 3 will absolutely work. Any of the aliphatic glues will work with this. It doesn't really matter which one because after this, we're going to cover over top of it. So stay tuned for that. That's
Got
a
it.
process after this. All right, so the first one is always the worst one because you've got glue on the first time. So a couple of things to note. As you work, the glue that's on the little card here is going to get shallower and shallower and shallower. And that's going to affect how much glue you get on here. So keep that in mind and adjust your technique as you go. All right, so we're going to work this way, right? Because we don't want to work this way and then drag our hand in the glue that we apply. So let me get you guys in a good spot where you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. All right, so now we're just gonna dip and create a mark. Dip and create a mark. And that's it. That's all you're gonna do.
Are you marking the width as well of how far you want those marks to be, or just somewhat relative consistent all throughout?
Relative consistent is what you want, but generally speaking, the rib stitching on the full scale models was only as thick as the rib itself. So
Okay,
since we have that predefined, that's what we're sticking to.
gotcha.
Now, if you see something you don't like, so this one here in the middle, after looking at my work, this one's a little bit big. You can try rubbing it with your finger. Oh, now I rubbed a little bit too much. Just wipe the whole thing away and try again. It's really, really easy that way. And again, with the aliphatic glue, you can just take the little bit of glue, roll it in your fingers, and it just
Hmm.
rolls up like a little bit of a eraser from a pencil. Now you can see
And
that as I do this, it doesn't take that long, and you get into a rhythm, and you just go. So don't think that this is going to take you hours and hours and hours to do.
off axis says, I came in late and afraid to ask what the heck he is doing.
Rib stitching, my friend, rib stitching.
Basically, Joshua is trying to replicate a scale version of rib stitching on a cloth wing. And basically, he's taking that little tool and just dabbing a little bit of aliphatic glue on. He's already got measurements just penciled on the wing itself. So that way he can go through and make a fast work, just hitting each mark he has along the ribs. So, how long are you letting that dry, Joshua, before you can move on to your next step?
So I will let this dry for several hours, mostly because the aliphatic glue it gets soft before it actually cures. Um, I have been letting these dry overnight.
Okay.
So like I'll do one side and then I'll let it sit for a couple of hours and then I'll flip over the wing because then it's hard enough that I can flip the wing over and do the underside of the wing. And then you can let that set overnight and then move on to the pinking tapes after that. I give it away what I'm doing next.
I think
No,
you gave that away a while ago.
yeah, it's not really a secret. Yeah, so some people call me crazy that I do details like this, but honestly, like give it a try sometime. You'll be surprised at how therapeutic it can be doing a very simple motion like this. You forget about the stresses of your job, the stresses of maybe some family things, maybe maybe you're a little bit depressed. There's a lot of positive outcome from this. It's not just how cool it looks when it's done, but seriously, like after you do this for you know even just 5-10 minutes and you look at this, it looks so amazing. So with this, you get the idea of how to do this. This is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to remove this sandbag weight, put this aside, and then I'll bring in this wing. So this wing has already been done, right?
Hmm.
And we'll weigh it down so that I don't knock it off the table. I've been known to do that, not on purpose though. All right, so pinking shears. These are pinking shears, and these ones I picked up at Walmart. Actually, my wife did because they were a gift for Christmas. Because I told my wife, "Hey, I need some pinking shears," and she said, "Great, stocking stuffer." So the way pinking shears work is pretty easy. It's it's exactly like scissors, only it cuts a zigzag pattern. So you're left with something that looks like this, right? So why is that a thing? Well, this is called pinking. And the reason that they did the pinked edges was to help prevent the edges from fraying. So they would lay the tapes over top of the stitches and then dope over top of that to help secure the stitches and keep the wing attached, or the covering attached to the wing rather. Okay, so this is the next stop that we're going to try to replicate. Now, uh, the sizing of pink tapes is also kind of a rule of thumb. So you take the width of your stitches, and then you do that by 2. So these are 1 centimeter spaced, so the distance here is 2 centimeters. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I've got my iron heating up. Ooh, it's
So are
still
you
cold.
doing multiple strips of those, or are you trying to do one for each
That's a good
span
question.
of stitching?
So
So,
I have cut a whole bunch of strips. I took a large piece that was 10.5 inches wide off the roll of Oratex, and then that 10.5 inches, I cut a whole bunch of strips, 10.5 inches long. And here's what's left of that.
boom.
I've got a whole bunch of these ready to go. But I also have a whole bunch of little pieces that are left over, because those are useful for, like, for example, the underside of the wing. Let me show you that. So on the underside of the wing, I am not going to apply rib stitching where the servo hatch is, but I can apply rib stitching here. So if I have a piece long enough from my remnants, I can use that rather than an entire length. Waste as much or as little as possible, rather. So hold
Four
on to your
Eyes,
scrap.
Four Eyes and Art are asking the covering we're using, and that is Oritex,
Yes,
which can
Oratex.
be sourced through Horizon Hobbies.
Yep. It is a bit more expensive, but what's nice about Oratex, you really can't see it on camera. You have to see it almost in person, is that it has almost a fabric-like texture, even though it has the iron-on adhesive on the back, and it shrinks very, very well. It is very, very forgiving. Uh, it's not exactly the lightest of materials to cover with, so keep that in mind. But I do want to mention that in the sun, it's not going to bubble very much, if at all, even on a darker color. I love Oratex. A lot of guys use Oratex, or old school Solartex is another product that used to be used for these World War I kind of models, because it's got that fabric-like texture to it. All right.
Rick has got a great question. He says, "Are you concerned with weight issues with the aliphatic glue and pinking?"
It is a concern, yes. So be judicial with it. If your model is uh, being built a little heavy, you're going to want to consider that as well. So I have learned how to build as light as possible. This airplane is a pretty lightweight model to begin with, and the details that I'm adding aren't adding they are adding weight. Okay, it's going to be heavier than a standard model out of the box, right? But it's a judicial amount of weight for the details that I'm adding. Um, so again, it's a skill that you have to hone and learn how to build light. I used to be terrible about it. All right, we ready to lay down our first pinking strip?
Let's do it.
All right. It's pretty easy. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we stop and have a quiz first?
Okay.
Okay.
What do you got?
Let me switch cameras again. All right. So I have a couple of questions. What radio model comes with the giveaway airplane? We haven't talked about this in some time.
Okay. Yeah,
So I
I like
thought
it.
I would refresh everyone that this does come with a radio, and a pretty nice one too. So put a comment in the chat about which radio. I'm looking specifically brand and model.
Gary said NX10.
Before I said Spectrum. So I mean Spectrum is correct. Spectrum and NX10 are both technically right, but I'll take NX10 because it's much more specific. So we'll give it to Gary.
All right.
Yeah.
Gary, shoot me an email, orders@dubro.com, and we'll set you up with a pair of chromies. So let me know what
Eh.
size chrome wheels you would like for your beautiful airplanes.
So quick thing
I think
about the
I want to say
NX10.
something.
Oh, okay.
Gary is here every class, and I don't
Yeah,
think Gary's ever won. So, touche, Gary. Good job, buddy.
that is pretty remarkable. Hey, I'm here every single time and I haven't won anything.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. You won the golden ticket, my friend. You get to hang out with me every
That's
other
true.
week.
That's true. Well, I do want to, before we go on to the pinking tapes, I do want to mention one more thing about this radio. So the NX10 is a fantastic radio because not only does it have a good number of channels for you to start out with, but also to build up with and expand on the more that you advance to your models, but it also has the telemetry built into it. And it's not just, so some of the other models like the NX8, I think, and such that have fewer channels. It also has telemetry, but it's limited. It's only like giving you telemetry as the model passes close by. The NX10 will give you full-time telemetry all the time. So if you are monitoring your battery, if you are monitoring any sort of thing and you've got the telemetry built into it, it's going to give you a constant stream of data to your transmitter, and you can program the transmitter to read that telemetry data back to you. It's a really great feature. I fly with telemetry constantly. I live by telemetry now. So it's a great thing for you to have in your toolbox as you continue to advance in the hobby. So let's move on to the pinking tapes, shall we?
Yeah, I'm looking up the link for the NX10, and I will
Ah,
drop that in the chat for you guys.
drop it in the chat.
Boom.
Okay, so the way that we're going to run these pinking tapes is there's a specific amount I want on the leading edge, so I'm going to start here, and it's essentially right where the covering meets the leading edge balsa. So this is really about as simple as you can get with covering. All you do is tack the front, right? And since it's
Okay.
one straight strip, put a little bit of tension on the rear and then tack the rear. And then gently go over the whole thing if you want. I've also found that it works really well to do the edge and then lightly go over the top, because again, this is a pretty hot iron. You don't want to melt the aliphatic glue, and then go over the other edge as well to help seal it all in. So the effect is that you have this pinked line, that you've got this texture, this really nice texture that is a scale detail. And then in addition to that, you've got really subtle detail of the rib stitching underneath that. So there's these little tiny bumps underneath. So visually, what this is going to do in broad daylight, in the middle of the day, you're not going to be able to see a lot of this. But at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, when the angle of the sun is low, it's going to cast smaller shadows and it's going to make this whole wing just come alive. I'm telling you, the little tiny amounts of texture that you can add to your model really makes the details come alive. And then you don't even have to do anything, just a little bit of time, and then just try. And this isn't difficult, it just takes time. Are there any questions about this?
Gary said, "Building light," in quotes, would be a great theme for a future class.
True. There are a number of ways to go about building light. Um, some people have different methods, and some people believe that some work and they believe that others don't. So it's kind of a preference thing. It's more building light, in my opinion, is more about acquiring a bunch of techniques to do so and then judiciously using them where you think they would be applied the best for your particular build. Sometimes I have built light because I know that a model's tail is going to be built heavy, and so I will put lightening holes in some surfaces and structure underneath to help alleviate just a little bit of weight. But sometimes that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. Sometimes you need that structure in order to maintain strength. And so a better way to look at that situation is maybe I need to reconsider the glue that I'm using. Maybe I should use thin CA rather than an aliphatic glue.
Hmm. So, a couple questions popping up.
Yeah,
Art
yeah,
asked, "How wide is the pinking strips?" I believe you said those were 2 centimeters
that is
because
correct.
the glue is spaced 1 centimeter. So it's
Correct. That is
2x in
correct.
that.
Yeah, so the general rule of thumb is that the pinking tape is twice as wide as your rib stitching.
Gary says, "I want more techniques." Um, Brett McKay, great question. Are you using the same heat setting as you do when applying the covering?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I've got it set to around the 300 mark on my Hanger 9 covering iron. So between the 280 and 327, wherever that
Yeah.
mark is. So yeah, that's really all it is to it. On the root part of the wing, I have a pink. I'll have to create one, but you can use another pinked piece, and it can be flat on the other side, and then you just fold it over on the edge and tack that down as well. So that's really all there is to. It's just not hard, guys. And then you flip it over, and then you cut off the excess, and you're done. That's really it. And so then you're left with this really nice surface. It's really kind of hard to see on the camera because it's white and it's all kind of washed out.
Yeah.
Um, but it is quite the remarkable transformation in person. I mean, Brian, I've sent you pictures of this.
Yeah.
Um, it's really cool though. Really nice
Uh,
scale detail.
Clark said he was curious if you're going to do the rib stitching, which you started out with that.
Yes, I started out with that. So Clark, just to back up a little bit, we do the rib stitching beforehand. We set out marks on our ribs with a pencil, and then we apply a little bit of aliphatic glue at each of those points. And as the glue dries, it creates a ridge that we're covering up with the pinking tape. So I'm not actually stitching it per se. I'm simulating that rib stitching.
Yep. Boom. We are caught up on questions.
Nice. Nice. So, That is actually all that I had planned to share tonight. Brian, I know that this is kind of a short stream. Let's get a question in here. I have more stuff to ask. And then do you think I should tease what I'm doing after that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think it looks awesome. Um,
Okay.
Gary says, do you erase the pencil marks? Those are
So
basically getting covered up, right?
Okay, so you can erase the pencil marks. Just grab, a chunk eraser and you can erase them. I would definitely recommend erasing it on the plane because holding the piece on the table gets kind of a cumbersome. But again, your mileage may vary. You may have better luck than me in the way that you hold it. So, yeah, yeah, you can. I didn't, and I'll show you why in a minute. Uh, so let's get a question in here. Uh, so speaking of what someone suggested as you building lightweight as a theme for one of the classes, uh, what is a a potential idea for next season? I want to hear your ideas for another season, and Brian gets to pick his favorite.
Oh, I get to pick. I
Yeah,
like
you
it.
get to pick.
All
Yeah,
right.
so
All right.
this can be anything that you guys can think of. If you want to just throw it out there, maybe it's just an individual class, and we can take a subject and work out a whole bunch of these. But we want to see what you guys can come up with, because keep in mind that I'm one person and I want to hear what you guys have to ask about, because it may be something I don't know anything about, and I'm the kind of discoverer. I like to fail and learn new things. So let's hear it, guys.
And I'm like
What it,
0.1% of a Joshua. So yeah. Don't look to me. Uh,
soldering?
we did have Brett had a great question. He said, did they ever use rib stitching on the fuselage?
Yes, to some extent. So sometimes there are access panels. Bristol did this a lot, where they would have access panels on the side of the fuselage for servicing, like some of the controls, right? It was just easier to have access panels like on the side or the bottom of the fuselage. And there were it's like shoelace where it wasn't a permanent stitch. It was like they had rope and grommets, and they would lace it up almost like a shoelace and then pull it tight. It's kind of wild, but that's how they did it. Bristol, I think you also on the SE5A, I think's done that way too.
Okay. All right. So far we got do a scale subject warbird, maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Gary says soldering. I'm terrible at it, both electronic and landing gear.
Yep. Yep. So
Uh,
mechanical and electrical soldering. Got it.
Four Eyes says model from scratch. Joshua just had a panic attack. John Sedot said Robin Hood 80. Rick Rader said painting World War One lozenge camouflage. My
Rick,
light
I'm gonna
just fell.
make your night.
Brett McKay said wing stab incidents as a class.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, John said, have you used the Pinkett from Dynamic Balsa? It is pre-cut.
Yeah, it is pre-cut. It's much more scale. So if you guys are really gonna get into some really scale stuff with your Pinkett and rib stitching, definitely go to Dynamic Balsa and use their stuff. You're gonna get a way better product, and it's gonna be way more scale. But this is a nice, sport scale. It's a good entryway into this kind of detail. Get your feet wet, as it were.
We got when to use carbon fiber versus aluminum rods or basswood square rods,
Interesting. Okay. So
using down
structure.
thrust and right thrust,
Okay.
uh, setting up electrical power system battery ESC
ESC
switches,
switches. Got it.
Along with scratch building tips for building a model from plans, i.e., making templates and parts when no kit
Kit
exists.
exists. Yeah, there's some really good stuff. So we've got some
I'm gonna fix my
aerodynamic
light. Go ahead.
stuff. Yeah, that's fine. I got some aerodynamic stuff. We got some construction stuff. A lot of interest in scratch building. I mean, scratch building is, if you guys are up for it, I've never gotten good feedback on my videos on YouTube when I've done scratch building stuff, just because it's kind of boring to watch, just because it takes so long. But it's certainly a worthwhile thing. If you want to try to look a little bit into that, I've got my recent CB build on my YouTube channel. That was completely from scratch and from plans. I cut every single part out of wood. It was super fun. Love that plane. Electrical stuff, I can easily cover that in a class. That's not a problem. My best quick tip is make sure you're pre-tin everything. Just pre-tin it all. Yeah. So
I
what's your
like it.
favorite, Brian? Got to give some away.
Oh, what are we giving away? We didn't state that.
Ooh. Why don't we give away some of the push rods that I talked about earlier?
Okay,
Maybe some
well,
laser rods with it.
if we're giving away push rods, then we got to go with David.
Okay.
Carbon fiber versus aluminum rods versus basswood square rods. So,
It's a good subject. It really is, because knowing when to use these for different structural things, it's almost like you need to be a structural engineer, and that's not everybody.
well, and I
Uh,
agree, especially with the popularity of carbon fiber in so many different things, right? And
yeah.
obviously, it's a big weight saver, which we're
Yeah.
always concerned about when we're building. So, I get that. So, uh, David, send us an email, orders@dubro.com, and let me know what size rods you would like, and we will get those out to you, my friend. And include your shipping address. Sorry.
All right. So the teaser is I have a wing. I have a wing panel here.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. So the wing is not going to stay white. It is going to look like this. I am a glutton for punishment, and I am painting lozenge pattern all over the wings. So this is my first panel. Um, so yeah, whoever made the comment, if you want to
It
scroll up
was
and highlight
Rick
Rick.
Rader, I believe.
Yeah. So Rick, this is a 4-color World War I lozenge. So I went to the craft store and I picked up 8 bottles of glue, or not of paint. So I'm using acrylic paint, and my buddy Dan Sponholz, I've mentioned him before. I think he's in the chat tonight. Hey Spons, how you doing, buddy? Um, so he pre-cut a whole bunch of these uh, vinyl masks, and so I just lay the mask on the wing, and then I paint in the holes. So it's kind of a cheat code, but it does have a little bit of problem where the vinyl doesn't want to entirely stick to the Ortex, so you have to kind of be careful before it, like, the paint bleeds under. And then some of the paint colors have to have 2 coats of paint. I'm noticing, particularly the darker ones. Since we have a white background, the darker ones definitely need a second coat of paint. But like the pink, I did not have to do a second coat. It looks pretty great. So that leads back to the other question: do I erase? No, I didn't erase any of the pencil marks because paint.
You covered him up.
Yeah, I just painted them. So that's my cheat code. I think that the lozenge pattern on the bottom being bright, and it'll be a little bit more dim on the top because that's the way they work. It was an intimidation tactic, and it's just a whole bunch of subtle details here and there about this model that I really want to showcase. I want this to be a stunning model on the ground and in the air, and I think that the lozenge pattern on the wings is going to do it. So uh, we're going to have a class coming up. We're going to talk all about zap glues that we've been using on this project, and that's going to give me time to wrap up all the details and finish these models fully before Nats. And so the very last show that we'll have at the beginning of July, I'll show the models, I'll show all the details, everything that's been done, ready to go before I head to Nats, and we'll close out the whole giveaway before we announce the winner.
Love it. Love it. Everybody's super impressed with the paint job. So my question is, I'm going to go back to this because I know somebody's thinking it. With all the paint added to the wings, are we worried about weight?
Yeah. So paint actually weighs next to nothing. So a great example is so recently I painted my Saab. So Dubro helped me out with the Saab build, supplied a whole bunch of parts for that, and I measured the weight of the wing before and after paint, and the paint added a gram.
Okay,
A
not
gram.
much. Yeah,
Yeah. So paint really is a very lightweight solution. Now, obviously, if you really gob it on there,
yeah,
it's going to add up. So again, use it judicially. I used a spray gun when I was painting the Saab, so I only applied how much I needed. When you paint by brush like this, it does add a little bit more. But again, I'm adding 2 layers only when I need to. So again, take those artistic liberties and try to play with your artwork as you're building it.
So a couple questions. Four Eyes
Yeah.
is asking, do you need to seal the paint?
Yes.
And then Rick is asking, how will the paint hold up to the glow fuel? And then
Which,
Gary says that's acrylic paint, correct? And I know
all right.
Gary had another question as well. So I figured
Yeah,
those were all related. I'd throw them
they
all at you.
are all related. So it's acrylic paint, and yes, you have to seal it. Not necessarily for the reasons that you think. So acrylic paint, because it's water thinnable, water soluble, you do need to cover it up. So if you go to the field and there's dew on the grass, it's going to leave watermarks. Even on the dried paint. So you do need to do some sort of clear. I'm going to do a matte as I can find, just to do a light mist over top of that, and that should also protect against glow fuel. Keep in mind that the glow fuel version, I was a little bit more liberal around the wing root areas with my stain and polyurethane, just to help seal the wood areas. And then the covering over top of that helps to seal that as well, to just keep the glow fuel out of the wing. Because there is going to be like the wing joint
Sure.
at the wing root. So that was something I was cognizant of as I was building. But yeah, make sure that you have some sort of clear over top of this, because repeated wiping, right, of cleaning up glow fuel, it's likely to come off, right? So for those who win the model, keep that in mind. You're going to spend some time maybe keeping this lozenge pattern nice, and you may have to think whether you want to clean up glow fuel or not. Some people really, really hate that. So might play in the factor of which model you choose.
And
Any
then,
other questions?
yeah, Gary had one other question. When you are on the pole, do the servo horns have to be same length as the control surface horn?
Yes. So the distance between the holes that you're using on your servo need to be the same distance between the holes on the control surface. However that ends up to be, that's the easiest way. It doesn't. Okay. So uh, again, reiterating from what I said in the masterclass, you don't have to. This is a very contentious aspect of our hobby. A lot of people say that you have to, you have to, you have to. You don't have to. And the reality is that this is going to be a pretty slow flying model. The risk of flutter and a whole bunch of other things that people are going to argue about, in my opinion, is just not there. But the easiest and simplest way to set up a pull pole is to keep them the same length. Okay. You're not going to have any slack if it's set up that way. Uh, Whether or not you choose to have the lines cross over each other, that's another argument point. So I'm not trying to be contentious here. I'm just telling you guys, like, these are the things that we argue about in our hobby. And I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to say there are other options.
There are more than one way to skin a cat.
That's true. Although if you tell that to my wife, she would say no.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too.
Cat lover.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. Other questions.
That's all the questions I have so far that I see. Gary said makes sense. Thank you.
Good. Good.
So
And that's really it. Like, just go with what makes sense. Okay. If you have a question about something, go with what makes sense. And if you end up talking with somebody at the field after you do something and that makes more sense, you can always go back and modify.
sure.
I mean, so many of my models, like, they're not done. They're just done for now.
Yeah. They never end, right?
Usually that's the way scale modeling goes. You'll be like, so I, like, for example, the B25. I finished my B25 restoration, and I'm sitting here thinking really long and hard about adding a bomb bay. I really like a bomb bay and bomb drop. Like, that would be super, super cool. But I'm sitting here going, do I really want to do that? How much time do I want to invest in it? Like, you're weighing my options. How complicated do I want it to be? So, like, that's the thing about scale building. Like, you have all these tools in your toolbox and you can use them wherever you want. But the way life hits you, you can judge how much time, how much complication, do you have enough channels in your radio? All of these things come into play.
I mean, I like my Bombay with tonic water. Just saying. Todd says, "What are you clear coating with?"
Okay, so I'm just going to use a Rust-Oleum clear coat, just because it's easy. Couple light mist coats. That's it. That's it. That's really all you need. You don't need to go heavy-handed with it.
This is a great question too, because this is a question we
Oh.
get all the time. When painting the Dubro vintage wheels, should I sand them a little before painting?
What do you tell the people?
I say you can, but be gentle.
Yes.
Use a higher grit. You don't want to obviously use an 80 grit sandpaper or something like that. Use like 220 plus. Sanding sponge, a very light textured sanding sponge does enough. Basically, what you're doing is creating a scratch in that surface, so it's allowing the paint to bond to that
Yep.
surface.
Yep.
Because those hubs are injection molded into house. So when it comes out of the actual injection mold, that plastic is super clean. It's got a very smooth finish on the inside of the mold. So it's not leaving you with really any texture or anything for the paint to grab onto or adhere to when you go to paint it. So it is a good idea to do that if you are going to paint them.
I have one recommendation that I will absolutely give on this subject, and that is steel wool.
Yes.
Steel wool. Use steel wool because it will be able to get into a lot of the cracks and crevices, the little nooks and crannies on that without taking a significant amount of plastic off. And
Mhm.
then on top of that, after that, I would wipe down with isopropyl alcohol just to clean all dust and debris. And then before painting, I would shoot a primer.
Mhm.
I would shoot a
Yes.
straight up primer because the primer will give you a mechanical and chemical bond to that plastic. And then you have a substrate that you can do subsequent painting on and then do a clear coat to seal it all together. That would be my best recommendation.
RJ's like, man, I don't know if I want to paint these wheels now. Maybe I'll just leave them the way they are. I'm just kidding. I'm
I
just
mean,
kidding.
the other option is that some people like the kind of chipped paint look because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
honestly, these were glorified bicycle wheels, right?
Sure.
They were in fact fabric covered, and there were actually studies done. There's a publication I don't remember what it's called, but there's a publication that showed the drag effects of wheels at this time, whether they were covered or not covered. And they showed a tremendous increase in aerodynamics just by covering the wheels. So
Yes.
that's why they moved to that. So if you're imagining that this is fabric covered and you're seeing impact from multiple landings, because these things bounced a lot, because we're not talking about smooth runways, we're talking about grass
Right.
fields. And
Right.
so a lot of the paint that was on this doped fabric would actually get a little chipped off. So some people kind of like the paint chipping off effect over time, sort of like a natural weathering.
Yeah.
So do what you like. There's a lot of things to weigh here artistically.
Boom. I like it.
Well, I think we're good, Brian.
Yes, sir. Appreciate everybody tuning in this evening for Masterclass number 15.
Yeah, man.
Like we said at the beginning, we won't be here on the 17th. We'll either be here next week or the week after the 17th. But keep an eye out on social medias. We'll send out an email blast as well, letting you guys know when exactly that'll be. We look forward to having Mike from Zap on the show with us as well, teaching us a few things about the offerings from Zap and seeing finished products from Joshua.
Yeah. So much to do. So much to do.
Yeah. So, yeah, great suggestions tonight too. I love the question, Joshua. To hear what everybody wants, and I know everybody's kind of in different stages of their building and want to sharpen up some things on techniques and stuff. So, thank you everybody for the suggestions. We'll take those, and you never know. Maybe we'll touch on all of them,
Yeah.
except for the scratch build because Joshua had a heart attack in his head.
Everybody
But
wants.
you never know. You never know. Maybe at Nats, I'll bribe Joshua and I'll get it done for you guys. I'm just saying.
That's a lot of bribing, pal.
That's a lot of bribing. Better bring the checkbook. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Joshua, it's looking awesome.
Thanks.
I'm stoked to see it all put together. But yeah, we will keep you guys posted about the next one. Like I said, it won't be the 17th. It'll either be next week or the last week of June. But we appreciate all you guys tuning in. Somebody said vacuum forming, which is funny. I've been playing with that lately. We'll talk
I've
about
got
that
a pretty
offline.
good tutorial on my YouTube channel. It was actually a Christmas special I put together.
Ooh, all right. All
Yeah.
right. I haven't seen that one yet. You're going to have to send that to me because I'm in a
Okay.
learning curve right now. All
There
right, guys.
it's a pretty steep one.
Yeah. Yeah, trust me. I know. Thank you, everybody. We will see you shortly. And thank you for tuning in and all the support. And we're glad you guys are taking something away. There's a lot of comments saying thank you very much for all the info and the sharing the techniques. So